Hello, everyone, and welcome to On Point, mastering Revit Survey Point for seamless project integration. My name is Juliana, and I work in marketing here at MicroCAD. And today's presenter is Sandra Volgemuth, our applications specialist. Today, we'll see the essence of the survey point and its role in establishing correct world coordinates. Also gain hands-on expertise in leveraging this critical feature for precision and accuracy in your projects. Throughout the webinar, as usual, you can ask Sandra to revisit a step or ask any questions. This is your time and we want you to make the most of it. And in the upper left-hand corners, you will find links to our social media, website, and YouTube channel. We post all of our webinars on our YouTube channel at the end, so you can share with colleagues or watch it on your own time. And we will also be sending the on-demand recording 24 hours after the webinar in case you have to hop off or you just miss something. So yeah, without further ado, I'll pass it on to Sandra. Hi, Sandra.
Hi, Juliana. Thank you for this beautiful introduction. First of all, hi, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. As Juliana said, we are going to be, before we go there, let me introduce myself a little bit to whoever doesn't know me yet. My name is Sandra Volgemuth. I have been an application specialist with MicroCAD for 4 years now. I also have a background as a BIM-CAD manager with a mechanical, electrical, and plumbing engineering firm for 6 years. And today we're going to be talking about a subject that I think is kind of overseen and obscure in the Revit world, and it's the survey point and everything that is related to it. So let's dive into our subject. So when I think about the survey point, we're talking about the positioning of our project and about the coordinate system. So Revit has its own coordinate system where it has an internal origin or a startup location. And all elements in the project are positioned according to that internal origin. It also has two more points. One is called the project base point and the survey point. So they are all by default located at the internal origin, but they can be moved according to shared coordinates or building locations. So your survey coordinate system provides a real world context to your project. So it will give you north, south, east, west coordinates so that you can locate your project properly in the world map, and it also has an elevation point. And the Revit origin point, this point number 2 here. So this is the survey point. Put in my laser. This is the survey point here. It is the triangle with the plus, and this is the project base point. So just to recap what I just said, there is 3 different points in Revit. Okay, keep that in mind. So the first point that I'm going to be talking about is the internal origin. The internal origin, as I mentioned here, is the startup location. The internal origin does not move. And if you come from the AutoCAD world, that internal origin is like your 000 location in CAD. Okay. To make them visible, because they're not visible and they're kind of hidden, you just need to go to your visibility and graphics dialog box and you just need to find the internal origin, the project base point, and the survey point, put the check marker on the three of them, and they show up. And initially, they show up like they're all bunched in the same location. So let's start with the geographic location of your project. You will set the geographic location of your project through the location tool and the manage tab, and you will give the project a geographic location that will help you find the appropriate weather information. And it will help you, as I said, locate the project in the world, but setting the location in your project does not affect your survey point. It does not affect your project base point. It does also not affect the project address that displays in the title block that you have to input manually through the project information dialog box. I hope you all know about that. So going a little bit more into what I really want to concentrate on my subject today is the project base point and the survey point. As you can see, they both have different icons. So the project base point defines the 0, 0, 0 location of the project coordinate system. General contractors will use that project to measure out of, to annotate and measure locations of things based on the project base point. This survey point identifies the real world location. So they can be positioned in different locations. I would position, as it's done here in this example that I have here, the survey point will be in whatever corner of my lot, of my property lines, or wherever the surveyor gave it to me. The project base point can be placed in a corner of a building or whatever other rational location you define. So to define the project base point, you need to either open a site plan or another view that displays it. As I said, you need to go to the visibilities and graphics dialog box and turn them on. Initially, they look like so. They're all bunched up. So to separate them, you know how to use your tab key. I hope you know. You will put your cursor over this icon and start tabbing your way until it gives you the project base point, and then you can move it into the location where you want to place it. And once it's in that location, you can either do that manually, or you can move the project base point by north, south, east, west, and elevation properties that the project base point has in its properties dialog box. Once you have it placed, my advice is to pin it. You need to go to the Modify tab in the Modify panel and use the Pin tool. Pinning the project base point will disable the Relocate Project and the Rotate Project North tools. Okay. The survey point, the same way as we defined and found the project base point. Again, you need to go to the visibilities and graphics dialog box, make sure that that the survey point is checked. And then you need to tab your way through the icon. If they're all still bunched up in the same icon, you need to tab your way through it until you define this icon. And then you have to move it. And once you move it, you will see that the survey point has this little clip thing. Okay. So you need to unclip it so that it looks like so, that it has that red line on it. You need to drag it to the desired location. You can either use these parameters in the drawing area. They are active and you can input that information directly there, or you can input that information in the properties dialog box of the project survey point. Once you have it placed where it's supposed to be, you want to make sure that you clip it so that it does not have that red line. And I would also pin it so that it does not get moved, so that it stays standard. I mean, we all know busy fingers in your models, but it's a little bit of a safety belt for you guys to pin elements, okay? Once the survey point is in the appropriate location, and there's a couple of ways to get the survey point. As I mentioned before, you can do that manually, or if you have a DWG that you got from a surveyor, you can link that DWG either by shared coordinates, or you can bring it in by base point to original coordinates, base point to base point. And then you can acquire the coordinates from that DWG so that you will get your survey point in the same location as the DWG that you got from your civil engineer. And the workflow for that is that you will link the file, and then, I mean, it can be a topography, it can be a DWG, or it can be a Revit model. I've heard a lot of people create a Revit model just to have those shared coordinates, which is a very good workflow. And then in the Manage tab, you need to go to the Project Location panel. In the Coordinates drop-down, find the Acquire Coordinates icon. It looks like so, as you can see here in this little icon. And then you need to place your cursor on the link and click. One note, you cannot acquire coordinates if the link has multiple shared sites or has multiple instances placed. So if you create a Revit model that you want to share coordinates with, it needs to be a very clean Revit model that just contains that information. It cannot be overly crowded. Okay, the other thing that you can do with the survey point is publish the coordinates. So when you publish the coordinates of your site plan or of your site model to models that are linked into that topography or into that site, the survey point of the linked file will acquire those coordinates and also the elevation. So again, the workflow is that you need to open the host model, and then you need to go to your Manage tab, to your Project Location panel, and in the Coordinates dropdown, you want to publish coordinates, you want to place the cursor on the linked model instance and click. And then it will ask you to select the name position for the linked model, and then you click OK. When you click OK, you will get a dialog box. Okay, and before you close that project, you will get another dialog box, and I'm going to show you in the next slide the dialog boxes that you're going to get. So here you see a typical situation, the way I would like it to be, where you have your topography. It has its own, this is the survey point of the topography. Notice that the linked model right now has its own survey point. Okay, and if I look into the original linked model, into this house model, this is where the survey point is located. After I publish the coordinates from my topography into this linked model, I get this location and site dialog box in the site. It gives me the shared locations. Okay, so I can name this, or I can name these as lot 5 or lot 1 or whatever name it needs to be. And then once I click OK in this dialog box, I will see that my survey point of my linked project jumped to be in the same location as the topography. had for the survey point. When I close out of the, or when I save the topography model, it will give me this dialog box. And it will tell me that the current position of that shared file has been changed. And if I want to publish it to the original model. And what Revit will do, if I click save, it will grab this survey point and place it into this location. Okay, and that is a very cool way if you're doing the development of a site where you have multiple lots and you want to give each lot its location into the site project. That is the way to go. So I hope this all gives you a little bit more of an insight of what the survey point does, what the project base point does, and what this whole thing that seems to be a little bit obscure when you're in the designing phase of the project. But general contractors, I'm sure they will be very happy that you start understanding this so much better, because they need to position their projects properly in the world and in height. So, having said all that, I'm going to open the floor for questions at this point.
Thank you, Sandra, for that wonderful presentation. And yeah, let's start with questions. And the first question we have is, um, do you have a PDF or this presentation? It would be very helpful for future reference to recreate this workflow. Um, Go, Sandra. I mean, I guess other than we'll be sending the recording, I don't know if Sandra maybe has a file.
Well, I have the PowerPoint that I just showed you. I would have to check with my higher ups if that is shareable. But I'm sure it is. So yes, you
Yeah,
can. I mean,
let's maybe we can ask because we have another question. It's
yeah,
about like almost the same. Is it possible to share these slides for reference? Um, I bet I guess you have the presentation. I don't know if we can share it. We'll check that, and we'll be sending the on-demand recording, and then after that we'll see if we can send you guys the presentation. Is that okay, Sandra?
yeah, absolutely. I just have to check with our bosses if that is something that we usually do. I really personally I don't mind. I think it's a subject, and I wanted to do this webinar precisely because I think it's a subject that I want to make handy to people. I think people are a little bit confused about how to handle all those points, and there's like this. It has become this thing that I heard it from a student the other day that, oh yeah, I heard that you better don't touch those points, and I was like, no, you need to touch them, but you need to touch them with knowledge, and then you need to know what you're touching and you're moving, right?
Absolutely. And next question. Oh well, I guess this is like answer regarding the presentation. They say the PowerPoint would be helpful if approved. Thank you. Yeah, we'll see if we can send you guys that. Absolutely. The next question we have is, how does moving the model affect the survey point?
Moving, repositioning the model, you mean? Um, well, the survey point stays in the same location unless you move the survey point separately. Maybe I can, let me see, I can show that to you here. Okay, so if I grab this project, notice where the survey point is for this model. right? If I move this project over, notice that the survey point of that link stays in the same location. Okay. So I guess that would be the answer to that. I got a dialog box that is telling me that I'm moving the survey point. So I can, yeah, I think that is the answer to that question.
Thank you. Next question is, hi, the serving point and project base point should not be too far away from each other. What do you recommend in a situation when you acquire coordinates and the survey point moves too far?
Well, Revit has this little thingy that it gets very unstable if anything is modeled. I think it's more than, it has a 10-mile radius from the internal origin. So my advice there is always to ask whoever sent you that survey file. I mean, if it's a CAD file, it should be placed that they should try to model near the 0, 0 location in the CAD file. Or I don't know how Civil 3D works in that sense, but it should be within a 10-mile radius. So, I mean, 10 miles is a huge distance. Okay. And that is your playground. So you can be 10 miles away, one from the other, and you're still kosher.
Got it. Okay, let's move to the next question. And it says, can you add or change project base point and survey point after a building model has created by the architects?
Yes, as you can see, my answer is a yes. I would say yes. Actually, I would say yes because I just did it with a given model and I moved their base points around and it did not change the geometry. It will change whatever you're measuring out of that base point.
Got it. So yeah, it's a yes. Next question. It's not. I don't get it. It just says changing the base point. Can you further elaborate on that, Alex, please? Um, let's move to the next question. Well, he does that. Um, what do we do if the Revit site model was drafted in Plan North instead of True North? It says this happened in our office recently.
Okay, notice that all your models, all your projects, all your views are pointing towards the project north. So you should have, if the project north, and I mean in Revit, the north, as you all know, is going straight up. But that is not the reality. So if you have a project that you want to change, you need to change the view here. You have to change it to true north. And then you need to go to your manage tab and through the position drop down, you need to ask to rotate the true north and set that view to the true north. Okay, that is very important to do that for energy analysis, for correct shadows, for correct location of your project. So at least one of your views should be placed, and I mean, it rotates your whole project around. Okay, only that you can keep views that are set to your project north, because sometimes true north gives you diagonal lines, and modeling in diagonal lines tends to be painstaking. So at least one view and one 3D view, which is the one that you send to analysis and that you use for rendering, needs to be set to true north. But that is how you handle that.
All right, thank you. And the next question, I think you already did, but I don't know. It says, can you please do an example on Revit?
Example of, yeah, I have my Revit open here just because I knew that that was going to come up. So, A, to bring the points up, as I said before, visibility and graphics dialog box, right? You need to scroll all the way down to your site node. Your internal origin, your project base point, and your survey point need to be on. Okay, so notice that the linked file has a project base point down here, and it has the survey point up here where in this example, because I was prepping for this, I already published the coordinates of that topography to the linked model. Okay, but that is the way it's done. So I hope that kind of answers your question. I mean, once I'm here, as I said, you need to tap your way through and always read down here. Remember, you want to always read your status bar so that you can tap your way through the survey point. For example, this is the clip icon that I was talking about. So you can unclip it and move it. Okay, and then you moved the, or you can move the project, the survey point through the properties dialog box.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much, Sandra. And yeah, I want to remind everyone, if you want to learn any of these topics in detail, you can always take a custom training with Sandra or someone else on our team. We also offer group classes online. So be sure to be checking the MicroCAD website for future webinars. And I would like to mention our upcoming webinars. We have coming up next on January 30, Finish Faster, Understanding Cloud-Based Collaboration with Civil 3D. And then on February 8th, we'll have Architectural Alchemy. What do you need to know about real-time 3D and virtual reality? So yeah, we encourage you to check the website and register. You don't have to attend, but just in case you can, you will still be getting the on-demand recording. So we highly recommend you registering for these. So yeah, I would like to thank Sandra for that wonderful presentation and to all our attendees. Thank you so much for attending, and thank you, Sandra.
Thank you guys for joining us in this beautiful webinar and for all your questions. Thank you very much.